All right, ladies and gentlemen, Rafi Chowdhury here from Influencer Spotlight. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday evening. If you're just tuning in and you have no idea what you're watching, well, there you go. You're watching the Rafi Chowdhury official TV, where we bring on successful, proven entrepreneurs from various industries all around the world to share their secrets, their hacks to how they got to where they are today. And they're just gonna give you what you want to hear. So before we proceed any further, I want to introduce our special guest for today. We've got Daniel Hernandez. Daniel, how's it going over there?
Yeah, doing real well. How are you?
Fantastic, man. Where are you based out of, Daniel?
Orange County, California.
Nice, nice. I used to live in Orange County as well. So
Whereabouts?
I lived in Laguna Hills and Mission Viejo.
Very cool.
Yep,
South
yep.
County. Yeah,
Very familiar with that area. That's a good place to live. Like,
definitely.
especially Laguna Hills, right next to the beach. It's an amazing area. I loved it.
Yep.
So glad you're joining us. Your sound, Daniel, is a little low, by the way. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Can you hear me better?
Better, yeah, when you came closer to the camera.
How about right there?
It's not terrible, but it's fine. I think we can do this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how the sound is coming for everybody else, but for me, it's a little. Even though my volume is turned up all the way, it's not that strong. But I can hear you. I can understand what you're saying.
No problem.
Cool. So Daniel is the CEO and founder of SecurityBud. SecurityBud has been around over the past 5 years. They've really gained a lot of momentum. So Daniel's obviously going to share a little bit about SecurityBud and the camera systems and things like that that he produces and what he does in Southern California. But before we go to that, let's talk a little bit about your story, Daniel.
Okay.
How did you get started with all this? Like, what was your background? Tell us from like when you were in like high school. Did you do anything like entrepreneurial at that age?
So when I was a kid, high school, and even younger than that, I was always hustling on something.
Mm-hmm.
When I got into high school, I was hustling on some probably not so legal items, we can say, but I had that kind of spirit in me to like go, make money doing whatever I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, long story short, basically, I wanted to have a business. I've always had a business in some level, whether it's a side hustle or a full-on business.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of learned a trade. I learned the security and low voltage trade, and
Okay.
through that, I was like, maybe I could start doing something like this. And I kind of refused to start that business for a long time, just knowing it's not like my favorite thing to do in the world, whether I'm good at it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not my favorite thing to go pull cable and do all that stuff, but I knew it really, really well.
Okay.
And so one day when I basically had I went to my job and they were like, "Hey, there's no work today," and they kind of cut me out. And I was like, "Well, there's nothing for me to do but try to go hustle some jobs." And so that's what I did. I went and started like hustling my own work and kind of making my own way with that.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of started growing from there. And
Mm-hmm.
we handle some of the biggest names out here and biggest names, Fortune 500 companies. Waste Management. We do a couple of McDonald's franchises. We do a lot of gas stations. You name them, I've pretty much done them. So, that's pretty much how we kind of built our name and our reputation. But it was kind of funny because our main core business, shall we say,
Mm-hmm.
the cannabis industry, which is a new industry and kind of emerging. So
Mm-hmm.
didn't have so many clients for a long time, and now it's kind of like coming on very strongly.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So let's backtrack a little bit back to your personal story first, then we'll come back to SecurityBud and
Sure.
what you guys doing there. So you started in high school. Is that when you said that you were doing that security job?
No, I started doing security when I was 19 years old. I got hired by one of the biggest dealers in the nation to put in basically wireless alarm systems. And that kind of put in the door and kind of got me thinking. And I just continued to progressively learn and learn and learn. And, now I'm a certified integrator. A lot of my guys are certified. It's just pretty, it's a progression. It starts small, but it can really snowball into a big thing and a big skill set.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Now, how did you said that you ran into the security systems thing. How did you like get introduced to that whole thing?
Well, it's funny. I had a drum company for a while. Like I'd make custom drum kits for some like heavy metal bands in Europe and like across the United States. And it wasn't my passion. I wasn't that like I'll be honest, I wasn't that great at it. I was kind of a new entrepreneur, learning as I went. But I had built myself a couple kits, and people really responded to them. So I figured I was onto something.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of was like trying to wind that down, so I ended up getting a job at a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Some ADT guys were staying there, and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for guys in the area to kind of help us get this new branch off the ground," and that pretty much started all that.
Gotcha. That's how I got involved. That's how you got that first job as a
Yeah,
security.
pretty random. I was a front desk manager for a while at a hotel. And
Gotcha.
guys rolled in and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for people that can do this and this," and I was basically hired over the phone, and then I pretty much learned as much as I could from there on forward.
Interesting. All right. So how long did you do that job for? The security job?
I was doing security work, or at least like low voltage work, off pretty much for the next 5 years, like with other companies and other like we could say other facets of it and just different calibers and different companies. So I did that for the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that is when I kind of got booted out. As I was a subcontractor for ADT Corporate, and
Mm-hmm.
they just taken over Brinks, so they kind of like took on a bunch of new technicians. And since I was a subcontractor, I would just continue to go to the bottom and the bottom because they got to give their hourly guys work first. So once they did that, I pretty much walked in one day and there wasn't that much work left, and they were just kind of like, "Well, you have work today, not work tomorrow." And I just said, I'm gonna go try something else.
Got it. Got it. So you did that for now. As far as your skill set in that, like, did you learn that on the job, or did you kind of like learn it by yourself? Like, how did you learn all this?
I would say that 80% of it's self-taught. Like 20% of it was learned on job, but 80% of it was like me wanting to learn and me like just developing the skill set. Like sometimes I go into the trenches elbow to elbow with some of the biggest IT guys in the area, and they have high respect for me, but it's all because I've done a lot of shall we say it's actual work that we've put in the ground. I've done a lot of R&D on this in real life scenario,
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of people are theorists, and I'm not a theorist. Like I've really done it, and so that always kind of gives you a level up with a lot of people. So I'm really well respected by a lot of older people in this industry,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the local area. And I just continue to try to learn. That's the key. Is like the more you learn, the more you earn. So we want
Yeah.
my learn more, and I want to learn more so I can teach them, and we can continue to grow and get into these new this technological you know wave, shall we say. I mean, everything's just going a mile a minute, so in tech right now, and security is no different. So
Mm-hmm.
trying to be at the forefront of that.
Gotcha. You didn't go to college, did you? Did you ever end up going?
I
Gotcha.
went for like I probably went for one semester, and I had like 100, what is it, almost 100% everything, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I just left.
So this would have been like around the time when you were. I mean, most people enter college what at like 8, 19
I was like
when you started your job.
24 years old when I started like really kind of going out on my own with my own company.
Got it. You were 24 at the time you said.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. So you've been doing this job, learning about securities, and you've been doing it for 5 years. So one day you go in, you don't have any work left. So then you're like, okay, can I hustle some more jobs? So tell me, how did you know to like start doing all this by yourself? Like, how did you acquire your first customer?
Just instinct, man. I've always been a natural salesman, fairly charismatic. Like I said, I hustled some not so savory items when I was younger, so I was never afraid of going and talking to people and being hands on with that type of like situation. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was almost natural, and like a lot of people knew that I did like certain things, and they'd always refer me. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm really fortunate that people, like I said, really respect me and always refer a lot of people to me. So it was just like really quick. Like we got on Yelp, we did a couple things like overnight. We had a business. We had a business, so we did almost $500,000 in our first year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So So Did you leverage the customers or the relationship that you built from the job? Like, did you go back to those same people, or is it just brand new market?
The funniest thing ever is like I've actually done, I think, one customer that I did a long time ago, but we had no idea that I owned the company. They just were calling randomly, and then it ended up coming out I did their house like when I was like 21 years old. And so that was kind of, that's kind of cool to see. That it kind of takes you full circle. But
Mm-hmm.
then there's also an element of like, maybe I need to grow a little bit more if I'm going back to the same place I was when I
Mm-hmm.
was 21 years old. Granted, the technology has changed and everything like that, but that actually was the moment where I was like, my company has to focus on commercial and to
Mm-hmm.
get a little bit bigger and not maybe get stuck in this trench right here of
Mm-hmm.
the residential game, we can say.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so let's fast track forward for a second to the now. How old are you today?
33 as of Friday, the 13th, this
Nice.
past week. Yeah.
That's awesome. Happy
Yeah.
belated birthday, man.
Thanks, man.
That's wonderful. All right, so 24, you started the company. Now it's been
Well,
almost.
I kind of freelanced for a few years. Like I didn't really do much. Like I didn't like commit to it.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually committed to another business, which is kind of funny. Like I did, as bad as it sounds, Rafi. I don't want to mess up your page here, but we did, exotic dancers and stuff like that for like bachelor parties. We did all the orders, and we did go-go dancers and other things.
Mm-hmm.
But like I did that with a guy, and kind of like just did freelance security work for like installs for like about a year and a half, almost about 3 years actually, like 2 years doing that, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 27, like I was kind of watching the cannabis industry grow and like emerge in Southern California. And I really thought California was going to be one of the first to legalize, which it wasn't. But it is today, but it's still not completely legal, and there's still like a lot of things. So when I saw that, I knew that there was going to be a market. I knew it was probably a market that I wanted to get into because the money was going to be big and it was going to be compliant. So these people have to get these systems.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started SecurityBud in 2011,
Mm-hmm.
and like here we are today, 7 years later.
Got it. Okay, so you made a transition at some point from being a sort of like a freelancer slash self-employed person to actually being a business owner.
Yeah.
Tell us about that process of transitioning from just you doing everything by yourself to you hiring the first person and the second and third, etc. How did you learn how to do that? What was that process like?
As funny as it sounds, like I had really good training like my whole life. Like my working life, I worked
Mm-hmm.
at Disneyland as an assistant manager for
Okay.
code. So I learned hiring, firing, HR, all that kind of stuff with them. And then I went and worked for the security companies, and I'd always end up in a management position. Just I'm fairly charismatic. I've got a good head on my shoulders. I work hard. I can manage people. So I would always get thrown into these management positions very early on, and so I continued to learn the process of hiring, firing, and all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so when it came time for me to really get going and bring on people, it was kind of like second nature. I already knew what I was doing. I was doing interviews every week for the past 10 years, trying to find new guys. And so I feel like I had a lot, like, I didn't really like come out and just be like, I'm going to start this business. I was trying to start other businesses way before I was trying to start this business. I just was not interested in getting into the job I was already doing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks of that sexy business that they can do because everybody wants to be Mark Zuckerberg. But, like if you think about it, his whole buildup was Facebook. Like there's no like, oh, my buildup was this, and then I'm gonna go start a Facebook. That wasn't it. His buildup was Facebook. So like we have to be like really real with ourselves and be like, oh, what's my buildup?
Mm-hmm.
And so finally, like my buildup is I'm a security guy, and like I know security really well. I'm good with customer service. So the next, to get where I want to go, I eventually would like to be in casinos and stuff. So I mean, we've got like a a big cross to carry, shall we say?
Mm-hmm. Got it. Gotcha. So now that you told me about your hiring process, tell me a little bit, elaborate a little bit more about acquiring your first few customers.
Um,
How did you break into that, you know, market
um,
with them? Like, what was your pitch?
man, we just had flyers and we'd go out to the swap meet. That's what we do. We get a space at the local car swap meet, and
Mm-hmm.
we would literally just post up and we'd offer like $1,000 systems, like 4 cameras, $1,000 bucks. And nowadays people can't even like get us out there for under 500 just to do like service calls most of the time. So it's kind of like crazy to think like we were going out there literally making $100 a system, but that's what we were doing. That was my pitch, we were going to go out, we were just going to like just try to get our name across. And I did door knocking, I did everything. My pitch was basically that we could show you you could watch your home while you were away. We asked, hey, do you work? We always ask probing questions, similar to like what you do when you do your like strategy calls with people and you want to like initiate like that initial consultation.
Right.
Probe them a little bit. You're like, hey, like, what's your pain point? What do you want to accomplish? Yada yada yada. It's just all how we word it for the industry that we're in. So like I would create like little pitches and we'd go door knocking, and I'd always come home with a job or two, and we just kind of went and then we got on Yelp, like I said, and Google, and I started doing all that kind of stuff and a lot of SEO work. I did crazy amounts of SEO work for like 2 years, and then I hired this really crappy web developer, deleted all of it one day. So but these are just the challenges that you run into. It's like you're gonna get thrown curveballs, and if you don't expect that, you might want to get out of business now. So
yeah.
What we did, we just a lot of SEO. We try to do everything as organic as possible. It's not until the past like few years that I've gotten into like Google AdWords, Facebook ads, doing like for like the PPC and that kind of stuff. So,
got it. Now, do you manage all of that yourself and in-house, or do you have teams that you outsource that out to?
I feel like because my my niche is so it's so new and so just different. I paid incredible amounts of money to people to do stuff and gotten absolutely zero results. So I've kind of learned how to do it all on my own, like ClickFunnels and all that stuff. I was just at a great ClickFunnels meeting for the Orange County ClickFunnels group on Thursday. And I learned quite a bit. So it's really, really, awesome to take that time and meet new people and just kind of indulge my brain a little bit, get away from like what I do. Cause like you get caught, I get caught in my own, you get a little stir crazy in your own cave sometimes. So, but yeah, I do pretty much everything myself now. I mean, I do have people I VA and outsource little things here and there. I try not to do any like graphic work anymore because graphic design work has probably the least impact sometimes, and it takes the most time. Like copywriting has way more impact than your graphic design probably will have. So kind of making sure you marry the two and know where your strengths and your weaknesses are. And that's what I kind of focus on. And I do keep it in-house right now just because I've had really bad experiences, but that doesn't mean I'm not looking for people actively,
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, I can, I feel like I can relate to that to some degree. I've learned a lot. I'm really not
I think everybody, when you open your doors, you get like 50 phone calls, from online marketing people. And, I just, it's funny. Like I tell my wife and, my kids and stuff, not my kids, but my wife, I go, if I was to pull that kind of BS in my industry, I'd end up in handcuffs, like straight up. Like they come find you, like you can't play that game, but in marketing, we can say whatever we want and it can, we're going to, change, we're going to move mountains for you. And they barely dug a trench. You're like, well, that's not going to work, So I think for me, I've always just been very independent in that. But I'm not saying that that's a good thing either to anybody. Like sometimes a little bit too much independence can create like a lot of issues for yourself because then there's an ego that becomes involved.
Right.
So if you're letting that ego drive you, you're gonna have a hard time as a business owner letting go, allowing people into your nursery to take care of your baby, and so there's always a push and a pull, and there's a positive and a negative. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your journey again one more time. What would you say are some of the most pivotal moments in your life that really like made you realize like, I mean, I understand like you had the job, you kind of did a lot of management training roles and things like that, but at what point was it a financial type of thing or was it more like a personal thing? Did you realize like you don't want to work for someone, you want to do your own thing? Or is that something that was kind of born into you from the very early on?
That's been me since I was like a kid. Like since I mean single digits, bro. Single digits. Like I remember that thought. Like I'm not going to work for somebody. He who has the gold has the power. And so for me, it was like always like an idea that I wanted to just kind of like. I'm outside, by the way. It's real quiet out here.
So, that's good.
But I just kind of, I can't take directions from people. That's like the truth of the matter, you know. Like when I really look at it, like I hate taking direction from people. I hate, you know, not being able to do it my way. I think my way is better, and that doesn't mean like I don't appreciate other people's opinions and their like, you know, their hard work and their, you know, their willingness to take things on. Because if somebody comes up to me with a better way, I'll gladly acknowledge it and do it that way. But I think a lot of companies don't give their employees enough freedom to try to develop their skills and become better and build better brands and companies. They kind of hold people down,
Yeah.
and in turn, you're basically holding your own company down. And startups know that more than the big businesses because we feel it so much. You know, it's like, you know, if you're paying 10 grand in payroll a week, you're a small business. It's not the same as like Waste Management paying like $1.5 million in payroll just for the region. It
Mhm.
doesn't even make a dent in their, you know, in their coffers. Where in mine, it's like, ooh, we got to make sure we're maximizing every dollar. So, you know, that's kind of the whole premise on that.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. That's fair. Oh man, well, tell us a little bit more about your education. So you said that you kind of learned a lot of this stuff by yourself.
Yeah.
There
So
were books that
I,
you read, or there was it YouTube videos? How did you learn it?
you know, I think the first thing is like I had a really good high school, you know, that I went to. I went to you know, college prep, religious high school, all
Uh-huh.
boys. You know, they ground everybody. I know, you know, I know a lot of the guys that I went to school with will probably grow to be pretty powerful dudes. You know, and you know, I'm just trying to carve my own way too, at the same time. But I think that was really like an impressionable part of my time. That was like super pivotal because like kind of humble beginnings, and like these guys, I mean, some of these parents were rolling in Ferraris and Lambos and, you
Mm-hmm.
know, Vipers, and I've never seen that kind of money or that type of you know, thing before. So that really like made me want to like focus on something and know like I wanted to be an owner. And then so as far as that, like my high school education was very good for me. Like I feel like I learned a lot from it. And
Mm-hmm.
then pretty much everything after that, I'm a real trial and error person. Like I can watch all the videos, but like I just have to get on the bike and try. Like if
Yeah,
I don't just get on the bike, I, you know, I can listen to all the books, but I'll probably still make the stupid mistake tomorrow, and then I'll be like, oh, that's what the book was talking about. Perfect, you know, like now I get it. And you know, you try to make conscientious decisions to not like step into failure, but sometimes it's inevitable. That's the only way to learn properly. So like the aha moments start happening.
hmm,
I think that that's pretty much how my education has been. It's just pushing myself to learn and do better.
that's absolutely something I can relate to as well. And same thing here. Like if I don't do it, if I don't go out there and try it, I'm not gonna get it. I'm not gonna watch videos to learn something. Like it just doesn't happen for me. And that's a good point. Now, um, let's talk a little bit about your advice towards, obviously, you know, you've built up a very successful company. I'm not gonna ask you like specific numbers, things like that, because most people don't, you know, like to share that. If you can, if you want to, but what would you say to somebody out? Most people that are listening to that are either, you know, they're small business owners, or they're maybe they work somewhere and they want to start their small business, or they do marketing, etc. What would you say to a person that's kind of in that phase where they haven't necessarily made it big just yet? You know, they're kind of still kind of exploring, trying to figure out what it is. What are some things that you feel like you did in your career that really helped you become successful? It could be like habits, it could be people you met, it could be, you know, practices, it could be something like faith, it could be something like books you read, anything you can say. Like if you could somehow give us like very specific things that you did that were extremely monumental in your success.
I think the first one is just becoming very real with yourself. You know, like owning who you are and owning your bullshit. I mean, as bad as that sounds to say,
Hmm.
so many people are so afraid to get real with themselves, and they tell them they have these like really silly lies that they like live in their head,
Yeah.
and you know, it's unfortunate because you're never going to get past or move on until that happens. So for me, you know, I just really focus on that really happened to me. That was like a huge thing, and you know, and it continues to happen in more like depth, right? So like one of the things is just self awareness, being really aware. The other
Hmm.
thing that really got me was uh, pretty much like I lived a pretty easy life for the most part as a kid. Not many things happened wrong for me. Like I got what I wanted, but business really kind of like punched my nuts a few times. And I've almost lost my
Mm-hmm.
app times in it over the years. So I think like just being really humble is the other thing. Humility, and a willingness to learn. And then the other thing that I always say is just like nobody owes you anything. Just accept where you're at and get on it. I know it sucks sometimes to have to get the work done or go have to do something you don't want to do, but at the end of the day, the quicker you get it done, the quicker you get paid, the quicker you get out of there. You know what I mean? And it just kind of works that way. And so those three things. And the other thing is get up early. Like I don't understand why people hate getting up in the morning. Like that's like my biggest pet peeve with it. Just get up, man. Like if you're not getting up by 6 at the latest, like dude, you're wasting your time. It's I kind of have these weird theories about like how our brain functions in quiet versus in noisy conditions, and it's not just the noise going in, but it's the energy that our body and our minds are absorbing that's like just flying around. So if you can get up when you're the only antenna out there broadcasting like in your area, like don't you think
Mm-hmm.
energy is going to be so much more magnificent for the day? And it does. Like you'll feel better if you have like a little routine and you get up early and you're prepared. And that's like just my I've read a lot of books, so I can't pinpoint one of my favorite ones is uh, I'm like going in circles here. Leaders eat last. I think leadership is something that we don't
Mm-hmm.
see in the country very well much anymore, or we don't see very much of. And if we do, it's not in like great aspects, and we have to almost go into like the business world to find it. Like even our teachers aren't being leaders
Right.
anymore. It's really like a shame. So
Mm-hmm.
leaders eat last, so we can have some good leadership foundation. Anything John Maxwell,
Mm-hmm.
anything Zig Ziglar for sales, Grant Cardone, all pretty much anybody that's written a book. Peter,
Mm-hmm.
what is his name? Peter Thiel. Um, I like. I mean,
Yeah.
it just goes on and on. So I just think people need to realize that these books aren't going to
Mm-hmm.
fix their problems, but what they are going to do is give them little golden nuggets of information to hopefully bring value into their lives. So, and get up early.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
Yeah,
Get
I
up early.
agree, man. That's I will say that's definitely not one of my favorites. I'm not a morning person at all, but I definitely see the value in that
It's huge.
for sure. All right, cool, man. So let's talk a little bit about SecurityBud. I know we briefly touched on it. Can security, because a lot of people that are watching are going to be from all over the U.S. Like, I mean, they could even be global.
Sure.
Can SecurityBud service someone just globally, nationally, or is it just you're servicing only in Southern California
We
right now?
service the cannabis industry nationally. We have full branches in 3 states, and we're continually trying to grow that number
Mm-hmm.
week in and week out. So our
Mm-hmm.
push for the rollout of the U.S. is definitely happening. Um, as far as local customers, we'll handle residential and stuff in California, but anywhere else, we just strictly handle cannabis.
Got it. Okay, gotcha. Now, what exactly do you guys do? I know that, I mean, I understand the security system, but can you tell me a little bit more about your specific products and
Yeah,
services?
so we use all cannabis compliant systems. That's the first thing. The second thing is I've worked hand in hand with manufacturers to make plant safe products to really focus on the end user
Mm-hmm.
the experience and making sure that all these products are going to only enhance the experience for the user versus make a detrimental situation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize like when you bring cannabis is a live product. It's a live plant. And when you're cultivating it, it's very temperamental.
Right.
It has a lot of things that need to be taken care of: nutrients, lighting, spectrum, cool, temperature, humidity, you know, CO2. I mean, there's a lot of things to think about, and so security cameras and different electronic systems can actually affect the grow pattern, or the not the grow pattern, excuse me, the growth of the plants and how they grow, shall we say. So what I've done is I spent the past 7 years just really focusing on how to take care of cultivations, how to make proper access control solutions, biometric locks, biometric access points, or excuse me, access control. So um, we just really specialize in taking care of that customer, that that cannabis customer, basically.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Got it. Got it. Awesome, man. Well, I think we're gonna start wrapping up now the interview. Just a couple more questions for you, just from a personal standpoint, like anything that you would say. I know that you you stress a lot on getting up early, but any favorite famous quotes or something like that that really resonates well with you, and if you know, it would be like, yeah, if you had like 10 seconds to give a message to the whole world, what would you say to them?
Just never stop dreaming. That's it.
It's a good one.
Stop.
Okay.
Keep going. Don't quit. Don't give up. Just make it happen for yourself. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people are waiting to make it
Awesome.
happen. You have to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Awesome, Daniel. Well, plenty of people out there would love to chat with you more, figure out, you know, there's any ways that maybe, I don't know, maybe they can be, they need security systems. Maybe they want to interview you as well, learn more from your insights. What is the best way that someone can reach out to you over the internet?
Just get on one of our websites, either SecurityBud.com or budsecurity.com, and hit up one of our contact forms. And we're a family business, so we're kind of tight. Everybody knows what's coming in and out. So if you send something and want to get a hold of me, we'll definitely know. The other way would be LinkedIn or Facebook, and we have pages and stuff throughout all that. So just look up SecurityBud and you can find me for sure.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you guys happen to have a branch in Memphis, Tennessee by chance?
No, not yet, man, not yet.
All right, you should soon, because that's where I am right now. Although I do miss Southern California, and I want to visit this summer, but for now I'm in Memphis.
All right, bro.
But what part of Southern California one more time? Where are you?
I'm in Orange County
specifically?
I'm in
I'm sorry. I mean, what part of Orange?
Fullerton area.
Huh?
North County, so Buena Park, Fullerton.
Okay, gotcha. I've passed through there before.
I'm sure.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Daniel, thanks again so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Amazing insights. I think your story is very inspirational. I mean, it is to me personally. I can tell just from talking to you, you're a super hardworking guy, and the results obviously speak for themselves. Thanks again for sharing that with our audience. And I'm sure many people will reach out to you, and we'll have more questions to follow up. But until then, it's getting kind of late. So if you want to get up at 6,
all right,
gotta start heading to bed.
All right, man.
That's what we're gonna do.
How we going?
Thank you so much. Enjoy it, man.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.